Tony Brown is returning to New Zealand to join the All Blacks coaching staff, folks. This was much talked about when Razor got sacked at the start of the year. They might look to bring back Tony Brown as an assistant coach. Well, they're getting their man, but the time frame is maybe a little bit different from expected because not until 2028 is Tony signing along. We'll go through what everyone is saying about this in terms of what is Tony himself saying, what's Rassi saying, what are the New Zealand Rugby guys saying, how long is the contract and whatnot, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Obviously, my first reaction is this is a bit of good news because he is a powerful rugby brain. There are some guys who just seem to see the game and find ways to unlock things, find ways to innovate. For mine, Tony Brown is one of those guys. So the fact that he's coming back to New Zealand, I think that's a tick. I think it's a bit of good news. But I do find it unusual. I find it unusual because we don't know who he will be assisting as assistant coach. Generally speaking, you appoint your head coach, and your head coach will give a list of names of who they might like to bring along on their coaching ticket. It's unusual to have the assistant ready and waiting. I mean, it can happen, but usually that's if the assistant was the assistant to the previous coach and then continues on for the next coach. Like what we've seen with Jason Ryan with the All Blacks. He was Ray's assistant, he was Fozzie's assistant, Ray's assistant, he's going to be Dave Rennie's assistant. That can happen, but you don't usually appoint the assistant out of the blue and then appoint the head coach later. So it's an unusual move. Obviously, New Zealand Rugby were dead keen to get him back in New Zealand, but we don't know who he'll be assisting. You could read into this to say that suggests Jamie Joseph, because Tony Brown and Jamie Joseph have got such a long and extensive working relationship together. Maybe it does, but we don't know for sure. Obviously, Dave Rennie has got a contract through until the next World Cup, and if he wins a World Cup, surely you keep him on, in which case he's got Tony, I guess, waiting to replace Mike Blair, who's been appointed as Dave's attack coach. So we will kind of have to wait and see. Dave Rennie's just won the top league over in Japan with his club side, so he's in a happy moment with Mike Blair as his assistant. Mike Blair's going to be coming with him to New Zealand. Apparently, New Zealand Rugby said Dave Rennie has been engaged throughout the process and is supportive of the appointment. I mean, I guess who wouldn't want Tony Brown coming along? But as I said, it is just an unusual process. But what about his South African role? Obviously, he continues with South Africa through till the end of his contract. I think he's always been pretty upfront about that. There was no break clause in his contract. He was never going to break his contract. Even when, Razor was sacked and there was all this talk, Tony was pretty much upfront saying, I'm with South Africa until the end of the World Cup. So he's been very much as good as his word in that regard. He has said, I mean, he's saying the right things for his current employers. Absolutely. He's saying that he is right now fully committed to the Springboks. The next 2 years are his only focus. And he's basically saying, 2028 is still a long way away. And he's right. We've still got a whole World Cup to come between now and then. Rassi has said that Tony's made a remarkable difference on and off the field. He's always been very upfront about wanting to be closer to his family, and that the All Blacks hold a special place in his heart, and that they are genuinely delighted for him. But on the flip side, again, with the contract still being locked in for this current World Cup cycle, that they are, delighted to have the clarity of the contract that allows them to kind of go full steam ahead through for their building and planning for this upcoming World Cup. So I think it's kind of a win-win, I suppose. New Zealand Rugby get him back. He gets to come back to New Zealand. We don't know who the coach will be, but he gets to continue to have a crack at a World Cup with South Africa. Rassi doesn't have to disrupt his plans by any coaching changes, so maybe it's a bit of good news for everyone. The inside knowledge thing is obviously one which is going to be a big talking point. Tony Brown will come back to New Zealand having worked with the Springboks for a number of years, for a whole World Cup cycle. So will he have kind of inside knowledge on the Springboks and Rassi and everything? Of course he will. But it's also a two-way street. Rassi will know how Tony Brown's mind works and what he's likely to bring to the All Blacks. So it is kind of a win-win. There's a bit of inside knowledge both ways, and neither coach is going to stand still. Like, Rassi's not going to keep the Springboks playing the same way. after the 2027 World Cup. He'll bring in new assistant coaches. They will evolve again. Who knows who Tony's going to be working with? They might have a totally different plan for the All Blacks. So there will be some inside knowledge. There'll be some, IP going both ways. It's probably a good thing for the game. It may mean we see, again, further evolution from both sides. But yeah, interesting news, just that it is kind of weird timing. And I guess New Zealand Rugby wanting to get a nice headline before we get Dave Rennie's first squad announcement, ahead of the upcoming Nations Championship. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. Tony Brown, if you're an All Blacks fan, you're excited to have him back in New Zealand once he gets here in 2028. If you're a Boks fan, you're happy that he's all locked in and committed with the Springboks until the end of the World Cup. I'm sure you won't begrudge him returning home. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. Take care, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Ta-ra.